because the doors are closed upon the women in our masjids. They're just about open for the male youth. As for the females, they are totally closed and padlocked, physically and mentally, physically and spiritually. And then the masjids that do have a balcony or a small section for the women, if you go and examine it and look at it, it's in a terrible state. And then the women, they can't just walk into that place and pray. They have to go and find the caretaker or find a member of the committee, find a trustee who has to look for the key, has to go and look for one key and the other key, and this is the wrong key and I couldn't get in. Until that person thinks, you know what, I'm going back home. My dear brothers and sisters, the masjids should be providing for our women folk, for our sisters, for our mothers, for our daughters, in the greatest of ways. But they don't. So tell me, have they not failed our youth? Indeed they have. I was approached by one elderly man in a community, and he was in tears. He had a white beard and he was in tears. And he said to me, please, Imam, can you please come to my house and speak to my daughter? She says she's become a Christian. I was devastated upon hearing this, but I went to the house. And I sat with the father and his daughter was there. So she spoke. She said, I was working with some Christians and they told me about the great love of Jesus. And they took me to the church and I found peace and comfort. I thought to myself, what can I say to this young girl? What can I say to this young lady when I know the local masjid in that area provides nothing for the women? Whose head will that go on? Why are they not providing? In that same area, there was a lady who came to the Jum'ah and she came with her young baby. And the women in the masjid, the elderly women, because the young baby was making noises, which is obvious, they started to shout and rant at the woman. She left the masjid. One young lady went after her and said, sister, don't worry about these women. I've spoken to them. They won't say anything to you. She said, I was a traveler. I was a passerby. I thought I'd stop and pray Jum'ah, but this is how I'm treated. I'm not coming back. My dear brothers and sisters, women are in our community. They are the ones who nurture our children. They are the ones who look after our young ones. If they don't have masjids that they can walk into comfortably and pray whilst their children play, what's going to be the future of this ummah? There are churches in Birmingham, I know, there are churches that are providing free sewing classes for women from within our community. And the masjids are providing no activities for those women. No religious activities, no social activities, no activities for the mental well-being of these women. How do the missionaries work? They give people what they are in need of and then they convert them to their religion. You think all of these women that are being provided for by the churches, their minds won't go towards becoming Christian? And they've got people speaking all the languages of the Muslims. One young woman here in Birmingham, she said in Ramadan, she didn't have anywhere to break her fast. So she went to the Sikh Gurdwara and they gave her food that the Prophet ﷺ was taking from his companions. He didn't store it in a bank. He didn't store it in Baytul Mal. He didn't put it away for a dark day, for a rainy day. He spent it on the Muslims immediately because they were in need. Tell me, aren't your children, aren't the youth of this community in need? Aren't they in need? And all of this wealth that we as a community have collectively been giving and putting into the pot of the masjids, and it's sitting in the banks doing nothing. Don't we deserve that that wealth be used upon our youth, upon our young ones, used upon them to provide them with beautiful environments, with beautiful classrooms, with places of comfort, with places which are colorful, which places that they will be impressed by, their hearts will be captured by, and they will be taken back by and say, you know what, I'm going to come back here tomorrow. I love this madrasa. I love this masjid. I love my teachers. That's what we need to be investing in. My dear brothers and sisters, if we do not impress our youth with Islam and we impress them with the dunya, then we are at big fault. And then on the day of judgment, we've got big answerings to do. Besides our masjids, drugs are being sold by the some children who once upon a time were opening the Quran in the masjid. Wal-iyazu billah, prostitution is done upon our streets. Besides our masjids, people are being gunned down, shot down because of gang wars around our masjids. My dear brothers and sisters, all of this wealth that was put into the pot of the masjid was for a reason. And that reason was we must spend on the education of our children. When I was in Syria,